Google reported last week that the search, when is the housing market going to crash, spiked 2,450%. So when will the housing market crash? Let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Nick with the E&E Realty Group. Just wanted to come at you with a real quick housing update for the month of May 2021. You know, I always like to provide you with a little bit of context as far as what's going on in the rest of the country. So let's take a look here real quick. Move this over there. So again, basically the main driver in the housing shortfall has still been the long-term decline of construction of single-family homes, according to Sam Katner, Vice President of Chief Economist of Freddie Mac. I told you guys that the National Association of Home Builders did a study where they looked at the number of new homes built every decade. They looked over the past 60 years, and when it came, for the decade for 2010 through 2019, we only built less than half of the homes we did every other decade. We are now feeling the ramifications of that, basically. What I thought was interesting is that the census just released their own data. If you look at this chart here, basically every decade, with the exception of the 80s, which was just slightly under, but typically every 10 years, we produce about 10 million new homes, right? Or in other words, about 1 million homes a year. If you look at 2010 to 2019, according to the census, we only produced 6.5 million homes. So again, this housing shortfall that we're experiencing now was created over a 10-year length of time where we just have not produced enough homes to keep up with our population growth. Okay, and that's really the big issue. When we look at the year-over-year changes in listings, okay, I just want you guys to realize here, this is right in April to April, this 40% increase. Realize this is a little bit of a pandemic number here, right? The pandemic started in March, but April is when we realized, wow, we're in this thing here. So there was a lot of panic. People pulled their homes off the market. There was a lot of uncertainty. So when we look at April to April, year over year, we're going to see a big disparity in numbers. So I just wanted to point that out. This is a little bit of pandemic baked into this, okay? But still looking at the total listings, down 53% according to move.com, still not good. When we look at our inventory levels for single family housing, this is just in 2021 over last year, right? We're about half of where we were last year. And last year, we were struggling with inventory as well. So definitely we need to see things get a lot better as far as supply. I've read some things recently where we're going to need about 4.5 to 5 million homes to get back to a more balanced market. Just realize, looking at these other metrics that I just shown you, that could take us 5 years, okay? But we're still seeing that demand remains incredibly strong as home buyers are snatching up listings quickly off the MLS, right? The NAR found that it now takes approximately 18 days for a home to go from listing to contract in the current housing market. A year ago, it took about 29 days. So things are definitely still accelerating. When we look at, this is Pulsenomics here, they basically put out this little bit of report here. They surveyed about 100 top economists there, asking when will the U.S. housing inventory grow again. A lot of them are optimistic about the second half of this year. We've seen a tremendous number of new housing permits that have come on. So definitely good news, but we're just going to have to see what this year and next year, has. I thought this was pretty interesting. Top 5 reasons homeowners plan to sell their home this year in 2021. Number 1, the home just no longer suits their needs. Number 2, they realize that, with the home prices where they're at now, they can make a huge profit in the current market. Number 3, they basically want a smaller home. They're just looking to downsize. A lot of them want to live closer to friends and family. That's obviously pandemic based. And then of course, a lot of them want different features and amenities in the home. We've seen this a lot through the pandemic where the addition of, home office or a pool has been incredibly desirable to buyers. I thought this was also good to know as well too. Again, back to the National Association of Home Builders, they basically did a survey and 16% of American adults are considering the purchase of a new home in the next 12 months. That's really good news, but we just need to start to build homes a lot quicker. I thought this was also incredibly interesting. The average profit for a home for sellers increased 26% year over year. That's huge, okay? But I want you to realize, as we're looking at all of these, home prices, we're seeing things selling over asking and bidding wars and all this other stuff, right? These really are not the effects or the result of a bubble. It is just simply due to lack of supply, right? Economics 101, supply and demand. We just have more people that want to buy a home right now than we have homes available to purchase. And that's all across the country. You know that I've been tracking the number of forbearances and things like that every month. And we saw, over the last 3 weeks that those numbers have remained unchanged, which is good news. This was also good news. 400,000 mortgages left forbearance in the last 2 months. That means they got out of forbearance. They got back to the positive side, which is great news. You also know, if you watch my videos, that I use this metric here, this slide here every month. Again, we're still seeing very similar numbers, right? 47% of people that entered into forbearance at the beginning of the pandemic are now out, right? So almost half of them, right? 36% of them have worked out some prepayment plan. It's just really the last 16% that we're still kind of concerned with. Of them, about 1.6 of them are really in dire straits. And I just read an article this morning from the Florida Association of Realtors, how they're basically looking to bring to some sellers' attentions all of their options, including short sales. They'd like to see a lot more short sales come than things actually go to foreclosure, for a lot of different reasons. It helps those people to get back into the market sooner. It's a lot less in fees and costs for the lenders and things like that. So, but remember, I've said this every single month. Even if all of the 16% of these homes actually did go to foreclosure, with their inventory so incredibly low right now, they will be quickly absorbed by the market. They will not move the needle in any way, shape, or form. Okay. We've also seen that consumers now are more upbeat about their income prospects as people are starting to return to work. Wall Street Journal did a survey. 8.9% of Americans plan to buy a home in the next 6 months. That's the biggest share in records going back to 1978. I thought that was huge. Okay, touching real quick on mortgage rates. We're starting to tick back up to about the 3% mark. We saw them, a little over 3% here, and then all of a sudden they dropped quickly. But we're pretty much thinking by the end of the year, we're going to be back up somewhere around that 3.5%. Definitely going into next year, well over 3.5%. Just keep in mind that, as the economy starts to improve and pick up steam, interest rates are going to rise. That goes hand in hand. The stronger the economy gets, the more interest rates typically go up to kind of hedge off inflation. I'm going to do another video about inflation because we had our consumer price index numbers come out this past week and they were shocking, not good news. But anyway, looking at the rates right now, this red arrow is kind of where we're at. This is what's projected going into the next year. So if you are considering buying, or you want to downsize or right size or whatever it is, you absolutely want to try and take advantage of these rates where they're still at right now. This is just a home price forecast for 2021. Across the board, we're looking at an average of about 6.8%. We think we're probably going to see this, once we look at 2021 as a whole. We've had a lot of double-digit price increasing here in the first half of the year. We think that will continue through the summer, but then as we get into the second half of the year, some things are going to start to cool. We're probably going to see things kind of coming back to reality and get back to that single-digit growth, which will be a lot more sustainable. But looking at home sales forecast to increase in 2021 and 2022, this yellow line here are the 2020 total home sales. We're already projected to basically be over that, right? We're already on course to actually exceed last year's numbers, and last year was a banner year, pretty incredible. So that remains to be seen, but can definitely be good news. So just looking at our San Diego numbers here for April, remember these are countywide numbers. They're all median numbers, so the true middle, all different types of housing, all different purchase prices. And I thought this was incredible that, the sales price, the median sales price is now over $700,000 here in San Diego. That's huge, up 18%. Our active market time, 9 days, that's down 18% year over year. So remember, that means that things are selling faster than they were this time last year. Our price per square foot is up 27%. Our month of inventory is down 59%, right? We're still hovering at the 0.9 months worth of inventory. Remember, we need 6 months of inventory for a balanced market. Again, if you watch these videos, this line, everything above the line are our lagging indicators. Everything below are our leading indicators. This is telling us where the market is heading. I just want to point out a couple of things here. Our active listings were down 56%. That's not good news. But when you look at these numbers for new listings, pending listings, and sold, you look at how big they're up 34%, 91%, 64%. Those numbers are huge. If you look back, month over month, all my other videos, these numbers are much smaller. Just realize, again, this is back to this pandemic when we're looking at April, the real kind of when the pandemic was really setting in last year, right? A lot of people pulled their homes off the market, things like that. There was a lot of uncertainty. People were being asked to stay home from work. Now, when we look at April a year ago, there's a big disparity, and that's what we're seeing. So just realize that you've got the pandemic kind of baked into some of these numbers. So that's about it. If you have any questions about any of this data, if you have questions about what your home worth, is now a good time to sell or buy, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you possibly have. Just reach out. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, who you choose to negotiate for you absolutely matters.